A cornucopia of music, bountiful plenty. Thank you, Robin. We have a little speaker here today, Robin, and so your music is bouncing off the walls of the auditorium as it has for many years, and we're looking forward to having you back in the hall with us soon. So thank you so much. Now is our time for joys and concerns. After that period, I'm going to move to a time of gratitude sharing. But for the first part, I'd like to open it up to people who would like to share joys or concerns. And I'll ask for Drew and Riva to pick people from home, but I'm going to start with Javad, who's here in the auditorium today. And will you come up a little bit, Javad? The microphone's right here, and it will be picked up easier. Stand right here.
Well, you know that I had a major loss. I had losses before, like loss of mom or dad, but there was nothing like this. I feel that I have lost part of myself. Meanwhile, it was good to belong to a family such as ethical family. I received numerous texts and emails, some of them from people that I even didn't know who they were. So we are all lucky to belong to this family. I just wanted to say that, and thank you.
Thank you, Javad. Glad you were here. Now we'll go to Zoom sharing. You can raise your hand or wave at the screen.
We have Josh. I'll ask you to unmute.
Hi there, my name's Josh. I'm new here. I was here last week for my first Zoom meeting with you all, and I just wanted to say that I'm, first of all, extremely thankful for the community in general, but also grateful for this particular community, for the welcoming atmosphere that I've received, and for the compassion that you all clearly have for the community around you. So thanks for all that you do, and thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Glad you're with us, Josh. Thank you. Any other folks from Zoom or in the room, you can wave your hand if you have anything to share. If you can come right up here, that would be great. Henry's going to share.
One of the things I am truly grateful for in this moment is just to be here in this building where we meet to speak the highest. And I just hope that all of us can congregate here again in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else on Zoom have a share of a joy or a concern? We'll be with you in a moment. We'll get with you in one moment. We're just having some technical difficulties. So Drew, I've joined via my computer.
I'll mute myself for a second while I
You're okay, you.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to move on as we work with our technical side of things here. I want to share a joy and a concern, and that is that PES member Jack Schwar is in Jefferson Hospital. He had some heart problems. His partner Julie shared that he's doing a little bit better. Henry visited him this week. I'm going to try to visit him today or tomorrow. Sorry.
No, you can, now you're good from here.
So I just want to share a little bit. I should get out of here. Thank you. Thank you. So wait a minute, should I be on?
You can hear him now, correct? Yes.
Yes, I can be, okay. So, but I logged out, so let me log back in. Great. So I'm going to move ahead with a couple of other joys and concerns. One is a joy and a concern. Jack Schwar is in Jefferson Hospital. He has some heart issues that he's dealing with there. His partner Julie shared that he's doing a little better. Henry got to visit him this week, and I'm going to try to visit him either this afternoon or tomorrow. If you're interested in visiting Jack, please let me know, and I'll tell you what room he's in, or Henry Poshkow can let you know as well. One other joy and concern I want to share, again, it's combined. I have joyful memories for the support and energy and conviction and dedication to the Ethical Society that Linda Richardson had. Linda has not been with us since she passed away, and her spirit is still with us, but today, November 21st, is her birthday. So I'm holding all of Linda's family in my heart and remembering the leadership that Linda offered to us.
You're muted again, you.
Did you hear any of that? Okay.
It was garbled.
Okay.
We heard the date of Linda's death.
Okay.
Try again now, but with your mic off. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so you can hear me now? Great, sorry.
That's not mute, you're still muted.
I'm muted, but I'm using the mic that Drew is using. Right? Okay. So I'm not going to unmute.
You shouldn't stay as you are for the time being.
Okay. So, third time's a charm. Did you hear me speak about Jack Schwar? Great. Okay, I'll move ahead. So, holding Linda in our hearts. Now's the time that I'd like to move towards sharing of gratitude. If you have a thought that you'd like to share about gratitude, please raise your hand. You can wave at the screen, and we'll try to spotlight you. Drew is working on some technical stuff, so we'll try to make this work as well as we can. Who would like to share a thought of gratitude? I'll share that I'm grateful to Drew and the technology we have that we can do any of this, let alone the gremlins that occasionally interfere with our efforts. So you can raise your hand in the app if you have something to share of gratitude, or you can wave at the screen. I have gratitude here in the house with Gary.
Do I come out there?
Yes, please. If you'd come up here because the mic will be able to be heard better.
I'm John, shall I say your hand up?
Thanks. I'll call on John after Gary. Right on this side, Gary. That'd be great. Thank you. You can
So, I have a very large extended family. We're having 39 people for Thanksgiving. So, it's my job to get the bread, so I ordered it from Metropolitan. But one year, I forgot to pick it up. So I had to go buy Wonder Bread at the Rite Aid. But I'm thankful for that large family because a lot of people have very few or nobody. And I hear that all the time. And I think it's natural to have a family like that, but it's probably not. And my mother just turned 98, and she's still living independently, which is amazing. So anyway, I have a lot to be thankful for.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thank you, Gary. John Marshall on Zoom.
Yes, I have gratitude for the gift of two wonderful daughters with whom I'm going to share Thanksgiving along with a lot of great people. And also, I want to share the opportunity for ethical growth with Ethical Society members. Thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing, John. Carol.
I'd like to be grateful for not having President Trump around anymore. And having our Democratic majority, and the fact that my cancer seems to be gone, and for the health of myself and all the other wonderful people at the Ethical Society. I'm very sorry that Javon's lost, but we still have Javon, and we must move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol, very much. And a reminder to all those who are watching, we are a 503c nonprofit. We neither support candidates nor political parties. Thank you very much. Who else would like to share? Sylvia.
Sylvia, you'll need to unmute. You should see a prompt. There you go, great.
We're about to unmute.
Yep.
Good morning. I'm thankful for the faithful members of the Ending Racism Task Force who come out to meetings every month and make plans and are so concerned about justice and anti-racism work. We're very grateful for all of our members. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Appreciate that. Other statements of gratitude from folks? I've got a couple of things to be grateful for, but I was going to wait to see if there's anyone else who'd like to share some gratitude today. So I'll share two things. Reva.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I'm very grateful to have found the Ethical Society and joined this amazing and dedicated group of people. I feel very lucky to be a part of this work with you all, so thank you.
Thank you, Reva. Appreciate it. So glad you're with us. Sorry you can't be here in person, but the annual tradition of messing up traffic due to the marathon, which I support fully. It's good for health, it's good for city spirit. However, it does cut off the northern part of the city and suburbs from Center City. So we'll see you soon. Tema and Arnold.
I have so many things to be grateful for. I really don't know where to start. Even the pandemic, when before the pandemic came around, I was searching for an excuse to retire. Be careful what you wish for. But in the face of the pandemic, my wife really stepped up to the plate. And I have been fairly inconvenienced. I feel almost guilty to say it. So I have a plethora of things to be thankful for, not the least of which is this community.
Thank you, Arnold. Anyone else from home? So with me seeing nobody, if at the end you'd like to share, you can. I'm going to share some comments on gratitude. So my platform today is a little shorter than normal because we're doing things a little differently, but I do want to share that I'm grateful for you being here today, both on Zoom and in the room. Eugene in the house, nice to see you. We have 11 folks here at the Ethical Society, and hopefully we'll have many more. Please stay healthy. I do want to mention that a big part of my gratitude is I'm grateful for science and for the medical profession. Particularly this week, I got my booster about 5 days ago, and it may be my imagination, but I've been running around with more energy than I've had in a while. So for my particular thanks to Moderna, but to all science and health professionals who are helping us through this pandemic. This pandemic has forced us to be on screen for most of the last 18 months. We've endured this. We've lost opportunities to be with loved ones and friends for special occasions. We have lost loved ones and friends as well who did not survive the pandemic. We've been challenged by an anxiety-producing election, a rather cantankerous siege on the national capital through a tension-filled impeachment trial process. We've been called on to help protect Black lives. We've been called on to try to slow climate change. And through all this, we've managed to stay together as a community at the Ethical Society. We've just kept our building functioning, which is a task in and of itself. And for that, I'm very thankful to Cheryl and to Greg and to the building committee for keeping this place going and moving. It still is full of people using the facility and keeping us to be a hub of community in this area of the city. We've also managed to reopen our Camp Linden program this past summer after a summer off, which was a tremendous challenge, and that's thanks primarily to Sharon and to Leonard and to Jeff Dubb, who heads the Camp Linden Committee, and to all Camp Linden Committee members and volunteers who take care of the property, along with the 2 people living on the property, our caretakers, Danielle and Ed. I hope you've received your Winter Views newsletter. Make sure you take a look at that, because we have a lot to be thankful for, that we have such a wonderful resource that's offered to young people in this city most summers. We've also managed to keep ourselves financially afloat. So to all of those of you who have contributed to our pledge campaign, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. We're grateful for some benefactors as well, whose donations have allowed us to hire additional staff. The marvelous Reva Stover, who you've met this morning or previous times, who's supporting our community life and helping us in membership growth and other things throughout the society. I want to thank Anne-Marie Gold, who volunteered to guide us through a planning process that is important for our future, and to all our volunteers who have kept our society moving. For that, I'm particularly grateful to the presidents, Bob Buning previously, to Mike Blacksmith, and to all the current board members, Kate, John Marshall, Nick, Sally, Drew, Stan, and to those who served on the board up till this summer, including Vince and Ron and Susan, and to all the other people who head up our committees, including Denise, Nick, Betsy, Drew, Sylvia, Eric Young, John Marshall, and thanks to Henry and to Lee and Celeste for our great newsletter, and to all of you who served in some committee on some committee at the Ethical Society. If you have served at some point in your association with the Society, would those of you on Zoom please wiggle your fingers at the screen? And to those who are who have served in the committee here, raise your hand. We got most folks wiggling their fingers or raising their hands. So thanks to all of you for all what you do. I want to thank those of you who I've left out, who I've inevitably left out of this list. Please forgive me for not mentioning you, and thanks for your support in all forms of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Without you, this place wouldn't exist. I'm grateful to everybody also for trusting in the relationships that we have at the Ethical Society. Because this world is so uncertain that we can rely on ourselves and each other as friends, as supports, is so important. Now, gratitude is difficult to maintain. When we're feeling generally pretty good. We can, even at those times, get wrapped up in the mundane things that trip us up, whether it's a hassle with a mechanic, or dealing with a particularly cantankerous family member, or maybe it's simply medical paperwork that you have to deal with. I'm going through right now as I'm working towards my Medicare application and choice of plans. But when we're feeling particularly angry, or stressed, or depressed, we don't even want to try to feel gratitude. Because being told to be grateful when we're in some states of mind makes us even more stressed, or angry, or depressed. Julie Norham, who's a professor at Wesley College, put it this way: if you're trying to be grateful all the time, but are in a really sucky situation, then you set yourself up for feeling like things are even worse than they were before. Because when you didn't get cured by this gratitude thing that was supposed to make you happy, you feel even worse. And I think that's true. You can't just switch on the flip sometimes. Now, some folks, myself included, use something called defensive pessimism. It's a glass half empty approach to the world that expects the worst, so that when things don't go well, you can always say, well, that was better than I expected. So I do that sometimes. It helps people reduce their anxiety to a degree, a bit of sense of humor and laughing about it. I try not to overdo it, but I do like a bit of dark humor now and then, and irony helps me out sometimes. So there are different ways that you can manage how you approach gratitude. I mean, it's hard enough to pick up a newspaper or turn on the news and not get this avalanche of horrors around the world. And as we know more and more from what we're reading about Facebook and other social media, bad news sells, and we buy too much of it. Outrage gets us hooked, and we are all too often addicts. So maybe it might be better if we limit our time on social media and limit how much of the news we take in. After all, we don't have to amplify the difficulties of life. I mean, well before social media, we've known of the omnipresence of tough times. We've known about suffering. The first noble truth of Buddhism is about suffering. The world's most populous religion has as its symbol a human being nailed to a cross and suffering. And even in our ethical culture, suffering is a great part of our legacy and our history. Felix Adler, who founded this movement, wrote just after World War I the following. He said that even the luckiest of us, which I feel I'm included in, even the lucky of us will feel pain, quote, due to the fate of those innumerable fellow beings who perish by the wayside. I mean by those many thousands who are dying unhelped in hospitals. I mean the victims of the foul conditions that exist in slums. I mean the millions of the young lives that were cut short during the late war. We stand, as it were, on the shore and see multitudes of our fellow human beings struggling in the water, stretching forth their arms, sinking, drowning, and we are powerless to assist them. So the art of gratitude is balancing that grim realism and our optimism, our childlike optimism, and the realities of life. We have to try to carry those together. Psychotherapist Frances Ward Weller suggests that the balance is better achieved when we understand, as the Taoist sages have taught for centuries, that the darkness and the light are intertwined. It's the same for grief and gratitude. Weller writes, the work of the mature person is to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to be stretched large by them. How much sorrow can I hold? She continues to write. That's how much gratitude I can give. If I only carry grief, I'll bend towards cynicism and despair. If I only have gratitude, I'll become saccharine and won't develop much compassion for other people's suffering. Grief keeps the heart fluid and soft, which helps make compassion possible. I think that's true. If so, it means that perhaps we can even be grateful for bad things. When we struggle, it's not easy. I live a privileged and comfortable life, so I'm not as burdened as most people. But I think for most of us who are relatively well off and privileged in this world, we can learn more from the difficulties and sufferings of life. Emiliana Simone Thomas, who's head of the Greater Good Science Center at the University of California, Berkeley, suggested that even pain can be seen as a gift, though I'll admit I'm not really good with that. I'm kind of a wimp. But he writes, I think you shift your perspective to sort of being grateful for the pain, grateful for the chance to have a sense of putting that pain in perspective, and that to me is a skill, end quote. It's a difficult skill to develop, I admit that. But I think we can get better with it, and I think I've gotten better with it with age. Young children quite often can get trapped myopically in the difficulties they're facing. They can focus on what they're not getting. They can focus on what they were denied, or they can focus on whatever is bothering them at the time. But some note that as we grow older, we develop what's called in the realm of positive psychology, mature gratitude. Mature gratitude. This is supported by a recent study by the National Institutes of Health that involved 30,000 people from the ages of 15 to 90. And what the report found was that the experience of gratitude was greatest in older adults. It suggested that as people age and become more aware of that their time is limited, they tend to focus more on meaningful events and other elements of their life that encourage gratitude. One of the very last things Kurt Vonnegut wrote, which was labeled Gratitude Poem, was published in the New Yorker, May 16th, 2005, and it ran as follows. These are Kurt Vonnegut's words. True story, word of honor. Joseph Heller, an important and funny writer, now dead, and I were at a party given by a billionaire on Shelter Island. I said, Joe, how does it make you feel to know that our host, only yesterday, may have made more money than your novel, Catch-22, has earned in its entire history? And Joe said, I've got something he can never have. And I said, what on earth could that be, Joe? And Joe said, the knowledge that I've got enough. The knowledge that I've got enough. Most of us have read about ways to increase the tendency to feel gratitude more than negatives, to feel sufficiency rather than deficit. I've used some of these techniques to get out of a rut in my life. There was a time not that long ago where I was always saying to myself, if I can only get through this month or this week or this day, then things will get better. But what I found myself doing was saying that all the time. After I got through that month or that week or that day, I found myself saying, and now I got to get through another thing and another thing. So it became a habit. It became a rut. And I thought to myself at one point, if I'm not thankful for what I have now, how will I be thankful for what I hope to get? If I'm not thankful for what I have now, how will I be thankful for what I hope to get. So I began using some simple practices to grow my gratitude. In one story of WHYY by Liz Tong, it was pointed out how much gratitude is like a muscle. It works if you exercise it. Simon Thomas wrote that gratitude is more like a muscle, like a trained response, or a skill that we can develop over time as we've learned to recognize abundance and gifts. He emphasized that this takes time. He said it takes time like water cutting through the rocks of a canyon. It's not done all at once, and it's just steady practice. That gets gratitude again. So I began spending time with a little mantra that I said every day. I said 10 things that I was grateful for, and I kept it the same just because it was easier for me to remember. It said, let me be thankful for this moment, for this day, for my wife Maureen, for my children Sean, Maya, and Justin. Let me be thankful for my friends, for my work, for the people I serve, and for this planet that we ride on together. 10 little things of gratitude that I said every day for a period of time in my life. These 2 minutes acknowledging reasons for gratitude helped me. Now, some of you I know keep a gratitude journal, where when you get up in the morning, you spend literally 2 minutes writing 1 or 2, 3 things that you're grateful for, or before you go to sleep at night. They don't have to be big things. That's the point of this practice. One person used a term I love. I've just heard of it, and I'm going to use it a lot. The importance of micro-blessings. Micro-blessings. That we need more of. And they can be the smallest pleasure, or a tiny gesture. It can be the smell of your coffee. It can be the nod of the bus driver as you get on. Finally, I think it's more important than I have realized in my life to share gratitude with others. Saying it aloud and in writing to yourself helps, but telling somebody else is really the point. One motivational writer, William Arthur Ward, said that feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Gertrude Stein said it another way. She said, silent gratitude isn't very much good to anyone. So I'm going to conclude my comments by reminding myself and all of you about the benefits of gratitude. It has health benefits. Neuroscientist Glenn Fox talked about how it improves our resilience, lowers our stress, boosts our overall health. One other study indicated that it can help in recovery from respiratory problems, which in times of COVID matters a lot. Those in positive psychology write about how it builds psychological strength, tenacity, resilience. It can ease fears, calm anxieties, and enhance mindfulness. My favorite Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, who is approaching 95 years of age and is severely compromised from strokes, teaches that gratitude is something he can do simply by being a grateful recipient of the help others are giving him. That is his expression of gratitude to others. Besides physical health and psychological health, social health can be enhanced by gratitude. People like to be around grateful people. Gratitude grows community. It certainly grows intimate relationships. They're like beautiful gardens that need lots of watering from the cup of gratitude. This is shown in an NIH study as well that indicates that expressing gratitude is a large contributor to the maintenance of close, intimate bonds. And certainly our community benefits from gratitude. Regular expressions of gratitude. Small gestures help the sense of being in a community. It increases the ability to rely on each other. It creates pro-social attitudes in people, according to NIH studies. And when this gratitude is expressed towards somebody, it gives pleasure to both parties. This mutually reinforcing cycle of gratitude builds community and increases cooperation. Simon Thomas writes, it creates this kind of bond, this enduring sense of connection with another person or another organism where we're poised to cooperate. This has been a key to our evolution as a species. And it feels good. The ancient poet Rumi from Persia put it this way: gratitude is the wine for the soul. Gratitude is wine for the soul. Go on, get drunk. End quote. So that I don't end with an interpret advocacy for inebriation, I'm going to offer a poem to you all as my thank you for being here on Zoom, for being in this building right now, and for this weird new hybrid that we're leaning into. It's a poem by Lucy Maud Montgomery, who was the author of Anne of Green Gables. I thank thee, friend, for the beautiful thought that in words well chosen thou gavest to me. Deep in the life of my soul it has wrought with its own rare essence to ever imbue me, to gleam like a star over devious ways, to bloom like a flower on the dreariest days. Better such gift from thee to me than gold of the hills or pearls in the sea. For the luster of jewels and gold may depart, and they have in them no life of the giver. But the gracious gift from thy heart to my heart shall witness to me thy love forever. Yea, it shall always abide with me as a part of my immortality. For a beautiful thought is a thing divine, so I thank thee, O friend, for this gift of thine. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being in this hall. If I can hear those in the hall with a little round of applause for everybody. I want to invite Roland Wilbur back to offer us a little music for meditation of the words I shared today. Roland, it's all yours. Thank you.